there's always been great speculation as to what Paul's thorn in the flesh was. Some would say it was an illness, or some would say it was a disability or a deformity. But I've been reading the Greek scholar Rick Renner, and he actually identifies that it was actually people. It was actually people. And he's saying that the Greek structure of this section of scripture makes this without doubt. And he identifies that it was the Jewish authorities who were stirred up to oppose him, and they were motivated by demonic forces, which he calls a messenger of Satan, who was stirring them up to come against him. And Paul initially was unhappy about this. And he prayed 3 times, the scripture tells us, that it will be taken out. Or in other words, God, take these people away from me. For he was being tormented by them. But then God tells him that his grace is sufficient for him. That was not what Paul wanted to hear. That was not what Paul wanted to hear, that his grace was sufficient for him. He wanted the troublemakers dealt with, he wanted them gone. Now, I used to be a jeweller, believe it or not. My dad used to have a chain of jeweller shops, and I used to work in a jeweller shop, and we used to handle all sorts of precious stones, amongst them pearls. We used to handle pearls, and there was a Japanese guy called Mikimoto, and he developed a method to culture pearls, right? And what he used to do was, a pearl is formed when a tiny grain of sand gets inside the oyster and starts to irritate the oyster. And so it reacts by forming enamel around it. And Mikimoto put little pearls, beads, inside the oysters, right? And he used to produce these perfectly cultured pearls. That's why you get cultured pearls. And they form very quickly, within a year or two, rather than having to wait for 10 years for a proper marine pearl to develop. And you can tell these pearls, when you're a jeweller, you can tell pearls, okay? And you can tell pearls because they're perfectly round. Because like sand, when it forms around the sand is uneven. It's uneven. But when you put the pearl in, they're perfectly round. You can also tell pearls by scraping them on your teeth to tell if they're plastic or not. But but the really valuable ones, the marine pearls, which take years to form, or when you get the big ones, they're very deformed. You can see they're misshaped. So we had a pair of really big marine pearl earrings in. They were like massive things, but they were deformed. But they was really valuable. They was worth about £5,000 back then, 30 years ago. And so they were really valuable. And so the valuable ones were misshaped because the sand irritates the oyster. And you know, it's the same with us. Our irritations that we get, God starts forming something beautiful in us. When we're getting irritated, when we're getting frustrated, and when we plug in with the Lord, and something beautiful is formed in us, but it might be a little bit misshapen, right? God uses frustration and irritation to develop us, right? So something that God is producing in us will develop something of great beauty. But it's when we overcome irritations and frustrations. So really developed Christians might have a few lumps and bumps on them, okay? They might not look quite perfect. They might not have Botox injections and filler in certain places, but they will have a quiet and gentle spirit within them. Because they've plugged in with God to find His grace, to overcome the irritations in their life. And they found Jesus' peace. And I wonder how many times, like Paul, we have wanted people to be taken away from us. People at work, demanding bosses, family members, friends, family members. Christmas is coming. And perish the thought. People at church. And even when they are being used by Satan, God uses them to polish us off. He uses them to knock rough edges off of us, He uses them to point out our faults, because we've all got them. And He uses them to turn up the heat in our lives, in our ministry. He uses them as refiner's fire. And we all have to go through the fire sometimes.